they don't do the practices, they won't learn. But they won't know from me giving them a boilerplate form answer. You know, and that's what you have with a lot of religion, a prepackaged formula. So what happens if life sends you a curveball and the prepackaged formula don't work? You got to memorize and whatever. What do? You have no practice to deal with the what, if, and, or buts of life. But when you have practice, you know how to deal with what is presented to you, because there's no boilerplate answer that I could give somebody for answers on intellectual front. But I can give them a practice, I can give them an assignment, give them homework where they got to actually go and what?
And research that.
Not research it, but do it.
Okay.
See, it's in the doing that our ministry stresses. It's not intellectualism.
So in other words, you don't just simply voice an opinion or fact. You actually give assignments?
We actually give assignments. We actually teach methods. We actually teach techniques. Let me give an example on why you'll understand this. If somebody asks me what water is, I can do an exegesis. It's H2O, 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen, and I can give them all this information about the composition of water. But what practical experience do they have with it? They have information. Or I could say, follow me. Go down to the river. Say, jump in. Take your cup, your hands, cup of water. Drink it. Feel it on your body. Experience it. Then I ask you the question, what's water? The approach is to get the person to experience it. If I tell them my experience of water, let me tell you the problem with that. What happens is they're going to rely on my reference of what I said I experienced with water. So even if I gave them the experience, they're going to be referencing, well, Doc said, and I didn't have that experience. So now they're going in it with a reference to what I experienced with the water. So I'm tainting them of having an original experience with no reference to nothing. I want them to go with a clear mind, an open mind, with no preconceived ideas or notions. So when they experience the water, it's fresh and new. Well, what if I give them my testimonial? You know, everybody like to give testimonials. But when they hear my testimonial, the problem with that is a lot of people expect to have the same
experience.
Exactly. And so I have robbed them of having an original experience because I've tainted the way they're going to approach it. They're going to approach it referencing, well, Doc had it that way. Or if you had an experience and you told them, well, you know, Lady V had it that way. And so I'm not wanting them to go into this with this concept in their mind that, you know, this is what I'm supposed to get. You see? Now they're already looking at an end result they're supposed to get, when they shouldn't even be looking at an end result, but just the experience itself. So I hope that you're getting the differences. So a lot of times when people say, well, you're not teaching me anything. Well, the teaching is not in me talking. The teaching is in you doing the practice and evaluating the what? The results. That's why my approach is a scientific. Does a scientist go into the lab knowing what the results are going to be before he do the experiment?
He should not.
I hope he don't. So the thing that, you know, we're looking at is for them to be open, to go into the method, go into the practice with an open mind and evaluate the results. Evaluate the experience. And when you evaluate the results and the experience, it's fresh and new. It ain't nothing nobody can tell you because you know what you experience for yourself. And then what you experience for yourself becomes informed in you, and it came from life, not man. You feel the difference? And so I'm out the picture. I'm not like a lot of people that's in the spiritual ranks as a spiritual leader. Do I consider myself a spiritual leader? Yes, but not in the egotistical sense. I think a true spiritual leader is somebody that can bring out the leader in people without crutching the people to have to come to him.
So you empower people.
empower people to learn how to go to God directly. No middleman, no church building, none of these other crutches that the world has taught them they need to get to God. And so, you know, as somebody who's first of all mastered these things himself, that's what I have to offer, is me. And, you know, being that I practice them and I know what I've got, I have some idea of what the other person is going to have to do in practice. I'm not trying to give them a bunch of talking and looking at me and saying, well, you know, he's so wise and all of that. That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. That's what a lot of the traditional pastors, preachers do, and get caught up on being looked at in some form of worship or some type of idolism. I'm not interested in that. I don't even want followers. Only thing I want people to learn to follow is the spirit within. And so my whole ministry is designed to point people to themselves. Not to a building. I ain't looking for membership. I'm not looking for any of that. What I'm looking for people to do is to learn that the greatest thing that they'll ever behold in their life is the power and the spirit that God gave them and everything that's within the temple called you. And once they can really understand who they are and what they're all about, then they'll understand what they can do, and that's unlimited. Is it making sense?
Yes, it does.
You know. So this is what I'm about. I'm about building people. Now, the world today is about building buildings, collecting for the building folk. You know, the overseas ministry. But, you know, until you build the spiritual man that's within everybody, which is the true church. The true church is not one of brick and mortar. The true church is spiritual. The true kingdom is spiritual. And to try to, you know, propagate that is quite a challenge, you know, in today's time, because a lot of people have what we call sentimentality. Sentimentality means loyal to family. Well, my family went here 50 years. You know, my brothers and sisters, and I can't go against my family. Well, to me, when it comes to issues of spirit, you can't make a God out of mama. You can't make a God out of dad. You can't make a God out of tradition, because you can make idols out of things that came from the Creator and not even know who the Creator is. So you have a false sense of who you are, because you think you're your heart. You think you're your face. You think you all these things that are external. But where'd they come from? How'd they get here? So when people really learn who they are, what they're about, what's your purpose, then you'll understand that a lot of things that go on, quote unquote, in the name of God, in the name of spirit, are erroneous.
This is Lady V of Lady V Living, empowering you to create values that maximize your net worth in all areas of your life.